Hello, everybody. Welcome back to No Agent Left Behind, Real Value. We're doing a training today on RPR to create a CMA for a property, something that you can do very quick and easy. It's all about just finding good comparable properties in order to get a value. This can be used for buyers or sellers and should be accessible to just about everybody through NAR. And some of the things that we'll go over today, I will have a training sheet on that I'll try to provide to you or offer a link because I do try to make sure that you have a little bit of an idea of how to do adjustments on properties, which we'll go over. But let's get started by looking at exactly how to get to RPR. Let's see, I'm going to share my screen here. And in your MLS, typically, whatever your board you're a part of, you'll be able to get to RPR directly through the screen that you log in on, or it may be at the very top of a property as well when you're actually looking at that page. But it looks like this. This is the symbol for RPR. If y'all can all see my screen now. You click on that and it will bring you right into RPR. And mine's through the Austin Board of Realtors. You may have it through a different board, but you should have access to this. And there may be a way as well you can log in with your NAR ID, but the website is NAR or NARPR.com if you need to get to it direct. So I want to kind of go through an example with you guys here. I'm going to pull up my training sheet as well. So RPR, I have in my CMA training. This is how I'll do pretty much all my CMAs. The reason why I really like it is that it comes out to be really clean and professional. One thing that I want to start with really on RPR is building out your profile. And as long as you have your profile laid out where you've filled in all of your correct information, add your picture and your logo for your team or your broker on there, and all your contact information, it really makes a really nice professional looking report, which presents very well when you're handing that over to a buyer or a seller. So what you want to start with is basically here at the home page, and this is not typically how I get to it because on my MLS, I can click on the RPR button directly on a listing. And so if you're already looking up the listing anyway, whether you're going to be writing an offer or scheduling a showing, I can go in and look it up here in the MLS. We're going to look at this property as potential listing, and it'll have this button right here at the top. And that makes it really fast to be able to get to RPR through that property. And that's kind of my quickest shortcut in order to start my CMA on a property, because I probably already looked it up for scheduling a showing or looking up some of the property documents and things as well. So either way, however you get there, you can type in the address here as well. We're going to do this one on a property out in Cedar Park. This is 1901 Avante Drive in Cedar Park, Texas. And we're going to use this as our example today. And in either case, you want to know enough about the property to be able to do a CMA and have all the home facts in there. So if you're doing a listing and you don't have all the details from a previous listing or current listing, then you may want to just make sure you have your bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and some of those lot size main factors correct. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to find that property using the address. You can look it up by the MLS number. You can select RPR directly from the listing. That's how you ultimately get into RPR. Then you're going to look at this, and I've done a CMA on this property before. I helped this client buy this property. So I'm going to clear this out real quick so I can show you exactly what it looks like brand new, but this is all old information from a couple of years ago. It saves it in RPR is the other nice part. You know, while we're talking about that, is it makes it where if you come back to a property later on, it'll save all of that information in the profile. But basically on the main page of that property, you'll have this create CMA button. All right. And this is something I just want to note over here for you. This RVM number, this computer generated figure on what's going to come up with a value, is is something you'd want to disregard. We're going to be hand picking properties and actually doing the value today by adjusting some of the comps. So don't even worry about this figure. It's something that I think may show up somewhere on the report, or you have an option to take it off, but your CMA value that you're creating is actually what you're going to want your client to focus on. So you're looking at a property that's off market, or it may show on market. Either way, I want you guys to be aware that you want to verify the information that's on there. Just like in the MLS that's entered by another agent, there could be errors in there, and you want to question some things if you're not seeing consistencies on what maybe the records may be as far as on the tax website, or what may have been on previous listings for square footage or lot size, but you get a chance to verify all that. We're looking at there's two different options that you can really do within RPR: the comparative analysis, which you're going to build an estimate based on those comps, and then a sales comparison analysis. And so what we're going to focus on today is the comparative analysis. This is going to be, again, the most simple, fastest way in order to get your idea of a value. And if you know enough about an area, and I would say if you've studied a lot of adjustment values in an area, and usually I got that information from appraisals that were actually done on some of these properties, you might be able to do a sales comparison analysis, but it's much more detailed, and you have to have some figures already set up in your mind, and know for that area particularly how they adjust for land or square footage. But we're going to keep it simple today and go comparative analysis. So make sure you have that selected right here at the top as you get into your CMA. We're going to start by confirming those home facts. And so it's going to have what's on public record over here. And then it's going to say, okay, if there is a current listing, it will pull that information into RPR. And that's one more thing that you need to make sure you set up in your profile. You can add multiple MLS that you're a part of. And that's going to make it where it will pull those list datas into RPR for you. So make sure that if you're in multiple, you add those, or if you are associated with one, that it's connected there in your RPR profile. But what I know about this property, I'm going to fill in, because let's say it's a listing, I don't have any data. I'm at the house and I'm looking around and I say, okay, it's got 4 bedrooms. It's got actually 2.5 baths, so 3 total, 2, 1. So this data obviously can be wrong, and that's why you want to double check it. Living square footage is 2664, and I've confirmed that from the CAD, the County Appraisal District, which that's where this information is pulled from as well. But you may look on the MLS and it may say something different on here. So public records, you're always looking at where is the source of that square footage. It could be the owner, it could be the builder, it could be an appraisal. So if that square footage is different than what's showing up on the appraisal district, you might question that and ask, what is the source? And hopefully yours will give you some sort of identification on that, because that is going to make a difference when it comes to the value. That square footage is a big factor here. So lot size, I'm going to have to fill in. It doesn't have that information. And 0.14 acres. See if I can do that. 0.14 or not. Oops. There we go. And if I don't have some of that information as far as lot dimensions and some of those, it's fine. Your main things you're going to want are bedrooms, bathrooms, some of these that are highlighted in blue that you want to keep in mind. It is a 2-story. So I'm confirming some of that information as I'm going through, and all this will carry over. So I can confirm these facts. I made my adjustments on what information was important and missing. And now I can confirm these facts and close. It'll keep bringing you back to this page where you're creating this CMA. So it may scroll you down a little bit. You just need to scroll up, and now you've completed step number 1 by confirming the home facts. And then we're going to go in and we're going to search for comps. So when I click on the Find Comps button, it's going to pull up this screen here. So something that I want to note that's a little odd about this system is before you hit this search button with whatever criteria you may create over here, you want to make sure you zoom out a little bit on this map, because it will only search within these maps boundaries. So if you're zoomed way in on the property, it's not gonna go beyond the edges of what's showing on this map right here. So kind of just a rule for me is I always want to zoom way out so I can zoom back in after I hit search, but I want to make sure I get a good idea of that surrounding area. But let's look at what we're really trying to find here. Okay, so we've confirmed the home facts. Now we're searching for comps. Okay, we want to widen that map area like we just talked about, and then we're going to start adjusting our criteria. We really want to look at just sold homes only if we're truly looking for what would be the appraisal value of a property. Just like an appraiser would use, they're going to look at what someone's actually paid for it, not what it may be listed at or pending at. So we're only going to look at sold home data. And I prefer, especially right now with the way the market's moved, is to only look within 6 months, make sure that we are very current on how that market's moving around that area. And up front here, when I'm searching for comps, I'm going to select more than I might need, but I'm going to narrow it down, usually between 3 to 5 homes once I get to the adjustments page. And I'll kind of show you what I mean here. So back into RPR where our main screen is, this is our criteria over here on the left. We're going to take out the automatic checked box for active and pending and just looked at closed properties. Last 6 months is already selected here. Now, when I'm looking at footage, and this is a house that's fairly large, it'll have your property information up here at the top, but 2664 square feet on a 2-story home. So you want to know a little bit about how appraisals work and what kind of meets their criteria. And so one thing that I would just note that you want to try to compare a 2-story to another 2-story home, a 1-story to another 1-story home. It makes sure that we're staying consistent on some of the demand for, different layouts that could really affect someone's buying habits on that home. And that's something that an appraiser will do as well. So we want to try to keep that consistent when we're doing our CMAs. The other thing is the square footage. So in general, you may have a neighborhood that has a wide range of square footage, from 1,200 square foot homes all the way up to 3,000 square foot homes. And you really want to see that when we're doing a simple analysis like this, it puts a lot of weight on the price per square foot. And on a smaller home, you're typically going to have a higher price per square foot than a larger home because of what I believe is some of the essential building necessities that are a fixed cost. It's got to have a kitchen. It's got to usually have 2 bathrooms. Those are expensive areas to build after you're adding a small living room or a big living room or big bedrooms or small bedrooms or 4 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. Those walls and the electrical and sheetrock and lumber that goes into that, substantially less than building out these essential items like a kitchen or a bathroom. And that's where that fixed cost ends up inflating, I think, the price per square foot of a smaller home, let's say 1,200, 1,500 square feet, in comparison to a larger home like this where we're at 2,600 square feet. It's got 3 living rooms, a formal dining room. It's got, a lot of extra space that isn't a necessity. And that's where you want to stay close to that range. So as a rule of thumb, I would try to stay within 200 square feet on the size. But when we're finding these similar properties, I've kind of added this as this is a order of importance of what you should be looking for. Number 1 being location, preferably within a half mile or within the same neighborhood really is the ultimate goal. If I can find homes in the same neighborhood, they're most likely built around the same time. They were made by the same builder, more than likely. They'll have similar lot sizes. We're going to get a lot more consistency. And of course, we're talking about your everyday average, tract neighborhood when we're talking about creating a value here. That's not always the case. You may be doing a property that's a ranch or something that's, out by itself, or a brand new house inside of an old neighborhood that's been knocked down and rebuilt. So this is all just kind of your typical go-to, but you're definitely going to have things that you're going to have to flex on when you're looking at a unique property. And that going down the line here as well. So we're looking at the grade of the home, and that's really the quality of the build. And so if you've looked at custom home builders and you look at those compared to a tract home you're going to have a pretty wide difference in the materials that they're using. Maybe the height of the ceilings, the type of cabinetry or doors or flooring, and that's going to have a big effect on the value. So you want to find something similar grade, and that's why, again, if you can find something in the same neighborhood by the same builder, then you'll really start to get similarities in those standard features. Size we talked about as far as square footage, I'd say plus or minus 200 square feet would be preferred. The age within 5 years is preferred. Again, it just depends on the area. And the bedroom and bathroom within 1 bedroom or bathroom is preferred as well. You don't want to be looking at something that a 5-bedroom versus a 3-bedroom. And then you'll look at features and upgrades. And so you're looking for something that'd be substantial cost. You know, have they upgraded the countertops in a home? Have they added a large back patio or replaced all the flooring downstairs and things like that that you're going to want to take into account when you're comparing. So with that in mind, when I'm finishing out my criteria here, so if I have a 2,600 square foot house, I'm going to narrow my living area down to 2,400 to 2,900. I'm just going to see what I can find, and then at least a minimum of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath within the last 6 months. So with all that in mind, I'm not trying to go too strict on my criteria, especially up front. I just kind of want to see what's out there. And so when I scroll down here and hit search, it will populate the map with anything that meets that criteria. So pops up like that, takes just a second. And now I'm going to zoom back in because I'm going to try to now get back into the neighborhood of my comp or my subject property here, which is the black icon. So here I have one, and I'm briefly going to just look at the quick facts here, and I'm going to start selecting some of these comps to start adding in. So here's another 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,656 square feet. I can tell by the picture it's a 2-story. I'm going to grab that one. I'm going to look over here in this neighborhood because I'm not seeing much else right here. I think actually, if you follow the neighborhood, I believe there's an elementary school in this space, and this whole neighborhood kind of surrounds it. So I'm going to look on this side of the neighborhood. I found another one, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,683. That looks like a 2-story as well. So I grabbed these 3 that are right in the immediate neighborhood right away. I'm going to look in this neighborhood across the street because I'm going to compare the grade on these to see, but I'm grabbing anything that's close, and all these should be close. And I'm really trying to stay in the neighborhood in or right next to my my property because location is so important here. Don't have any pictures on that one. Hard to tell. Here's another one. So I'm going to grab probably 6 to 8 properties real quick, just so I can start building out an idea of a CMA on this. All right, so I went ahead and grabbed all these surrounding this subject property, and then I'm just going to scroll down, and you can go look into more details, but I think that it's easier to do the detailed review here on the next page. So when we update valuation and close right here on the blue button, it's going to bring us right back to our building our CMA page. And then we're going to go into making adjustments. And this is where I'll actually look a little bit more depth. I've grabbed 10 properties, so I have way more than I need. So I'm going to narrow this down to the closest properties to my subject property here. So you obviously want to know enough about your subject property, but I'll tell you all a little bit about it since I'm familiar with this one. It's a corner lot. It's a 2-story home. It's got a formal dining room. It's got 3 living areas. It's got 4 bedrooms, all upstairs. These pictures that are on here are from when it was purchased. Now it's got a fully remodeled kitchen, all new cabinets, all new countertops, all new flooring downstairs, laminate flooring or LVT, actually vinyl tiles. And then upstairs, and the whole house has been painted on the interior. So I know what I need to have an idea of to compare to any of these other properties. So now when I go through and look at some of these pictures, I will look at these home facts as well. We can get a little closer, so I can already tell first property I'm comparing to, it's got a slightly larger lot, even though mine's a corner lot. This one's bigger. And I'm starting to look at some of the pictures to get an idea of the grade of the interior. I'm looking at flooring. I'm looking at the kitchen, the countertops, the cabinetry. So I'm already saying, man, the kitchen in my subject property is much nicer than this. It's all new cabinets and all new, this is quartz countertops. So I'm already thinking my property's better, and that's kind of how we're going to do our adjustments here in just a second. But I am noticing that the lot's a little bit bigger. So we're going to have to kind of weigh those out and see how that affects. Bathroom wise, for the master, has separate shower and tub, very comparable. So I'll kind of go through just like that. And I'm looking to see if there's anything substantial that would be an upgrade. And then backyard, I see a pergola has been built, shed, huge backyard. So we already knew that. So now we get down to these adjustments. So for these adjustments, I'm looking for big differences right away, and what would typically affect that price per square foot. And I may eliminate some of those if we find a home that has, it's much higher price because it has a pool, or that it's just a much higher grade home. Maybe there's a custom home neighborhood right next to this track home neighborhood, and these just aren't even close. I'm just going to go ahead and throw those out, and I'm going to try to narrow these down to the 3 to 5. So quality over quantity on this, and then use the most similar based off that order of importance of location, grade, size, age, bedroom, bathroom, and features. So I'm gonna adjust these, one click at a time. Let's take this one, for instance, that has a slightly larger lot, but it does not have the kitchen remodel nor the consistent new flooring across the downstairs like my subject property does. So for that remodel in the kitchen, I'm going to move this worse. So this property is worse than my subject property, down 2. I'm going to move it down 1 more for the new flooring that my subject property has. And then because this has a slightly larger lot, I'm moving this up back 1. So to justify that, basically, I've moved it down 3 and back up 1. Take away from some of the things that my subject property has would make it worse, and then it having a slightly larger lot would make it slightly better. And you kind of need to get an idea of what this more accurately once you narrow your comps down. This is how much it's showing it's going to adjust, but that number is going to change. So I wait till I get to the very end here to do my fine tuning. So I'm going to go through now and look at the rest of these properties. And this one was built 2000, 98, 99, 99. So I'm looking at all consistent timing of when these homes were built. And this is a 2-story. It's got carpet all downstairs. It's got the old cabinets and the kitchen and old laminate flooring downstairs. So right off the bat, I can see that it's got some things that aren't as good as my subject property. This is a corner lot like my subject property is, which is nice. The lot's still slightly larger. It is lacking in quite a bit on the interior from where the remodel's been on the kitchen. So this one's going to go down 2 for the kitchen and that remodel, and 1 for the flooring on the downstairs. So that's my adjustment factor for those. And these first 2 are the ones that were in that neighborhood. So in the same neighborhood. So those are my 2 most important right now that I'm focusing on. Looking at the third, I'm going to start speeding through these to see if they're close enough to keep. But if I find something, for instance, that has a remodeled kitchen or has, some of the things that my subject property has, those are what I want to keep. I want to try to get rid of these ones that I'm having to adjust on a large scale, because that's not going to give me the most accurate. So this one has the larger lot. I'm going back up on this one. All right, and you'll hit the next button at the top. It'll skip you through these properties. And these in the next neighborhood. So these in the next neighborhood were much newer. So unfortunately, just because of how much newer these homes are, these aren't going to be good comps. I have other comps that are built around the same time. So 2017, 2016, 2017, I'm going to take all of these out. because I don't want to compare with something that's that much newer when I have other comps in the area that are around the same age. So these two right here are going to go out as well. And now I'm down to 7 comps. So you see I'm narrowing them down now. Now we're back to some homes in a neighborhood that were built around that 2000 timeframe with similar sized lots, similar size square footage. This one's got one less bedroom. These are very comparable. So we're going to go through these. I'm going to go, okay, it's got upgraded kitchen, it looks like. Maybe refinished cabinets, but definitely new countertops. So as I go through the pictures, I'm trying to see what other upgrades or options may align. I think just the flooring downstairs, looks like the backyard's got a patio, as well as the house, the subject property has a patio. So I'm really only adjusting right now for flooring. I have a more consistent LVT tile downstairs in my subject property, so that's a minor adjustment on that one. All right, and I'm gonna look over here. This one has, looks like granite countertops, but old cabinets. Carpet downstairs. No remodel on the bathroom. So I'm looking for the big ticket items, remodel areas. It does have a nice covered patio. It does give it a little bit of improvement. It was built in 2000 as well. And Dan, it's a little bit smaller. Yeah.
Dan, while he's doing this, I just wanted to mention to the agents that are watching this, you know, when you as an agent are doing this detail-oriented of a report, number one, you are basically in the eyes of your customers looking more and more professional, because you didn't just, you know, go in the MLS, look at the prices and be like, hey, yeah, I think it should be at this. Like, you took your time and gave them this report that is going to give them, you know, the best shot at getting the most value, because you're and really selling it fast is the reality, right? I mean, wouldn't you say, Dan? Like, selling it fast just because you're not. We see so many agents out there that'll take a listing, even when I'm working buyers, and it'll be on the market for, you know, 10 days, 20 days. And you know that there's only two things. It's either that A, there's something wrong with the house, or B, it's overpriced, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about this market right now that, you know, we're really having to be careful about how things are listed as far as what is their list price. We can see someone intentionally list something low in order to get, you know, a huge amount of offers and competition. And you've got to make sure you're aware of that so that you can advise your client on, hey, it's not going to be a great deal and they didn't price it low. You're going to have to go 50 or 100,000 over because they priced it 20, 30 grand lower than what it should have been. You know, and that's where you have to be aware of that. On the same other side of the coin is we got people that are saying, hey, I'll sell my house if I can get this crazy high number, and they're listing it way above the value. And you're there the first weekend on the market, and you need to know, is this something we should be gunning for around their list price, or are we looking at this like they're crazy and, you know, we need to see if they're negotiable, even though it's the first weekend on the market. And that's your job to really advise your client on how is and I completely ignore the list price when I'm doing my CMA, because how is the list price related to the appraisal value or the estimated appraisal value in this case? So we need to see how they priced it is one of our first things that we're really looking at. And that's when you'll start to go into your offer strategy. Are they in multiple offers? You know, is this, you know, time on the market? You know, what are the factors that we're looking at for, you know, what they need as far as terms? And that's something that you'll really go into more depth on. But I would say that doing this as quickly as possible, and sometimes I'll do this before I go look at the house, and then I'll fine tune it once I've seen it in person. A lot of times I'll do this right outside the house in my truck before I drive away. because for me, I can get the value fresh in my mind from what I just saw, looking at these comps and being able to come up with a good range. And I'm never going to give my client an exact number. I'm going to give them kind of a range, and I'm going to tell them, oh, here's why and how I've justified it. And if I feel good about it, then I'm going to, go a little bit deeper as far as finding out how much are these homes selling for above list price when they're priced this way. And I'll start tracking some other data in the MLS. But for a quick, easy idea, just getting an idea, how did they list it in comparison to the value? This is the best way, quickest way for sure. And I'm doing it a little slower than, of course, while I'm explaining it, but I'm usually just running through these, checking these pictures, making my adjustments. Like this one, it's the highest price per square foot out of everything we've seen. I don't even see why it's priced so high. Maybe these marble floors and everything just really blew them away, but the pictures aren't doing it for me. And so I don't think it's going to relate close enough to all these other properties that I'm just going to throw it out. I'm going to take that one out of the mix rather than, mess up, what I already have going, because it's pulling that value way up for that one comp. And I'm aware of it, and I'm taking note of it, but I'm not relying on that comp if I have plenty of others that are in the right range here for what I'm seeing. This one has a remodeled kitchen from what I can see. It's close on square footage. It's a 5-bedroom, and it's got some upgraded flooring and some things in here. So this one looks pretty straight comparable. So this is why I'm just going to keep this one just straight on the same, because it's got a lot of the same upgrades that my subject property has. So it's okay if it ends up just being the same, but I've adjusted a lot of these down a little bit. And this is just my opinion, right? So just like it's y'all's opinion, if you've seen the house and you've been in it yourself and you know what are upgrades and what are not, you're going in and you can go into bigger detail and look at these properties by clicking on the address and going into more detail on it. But I think that getting a quick idea of the value, this is going to be the best way to do it. So now that I've made all my adjustments, I can scroll down here and update valuation and close. And now it's going to bring me right back to that same page where I built all this out. It's going to show what my comp, just straight even value would be, what adjustments I made, and then what the result is of my comp analysis. So now I can create a report. This is what I say is going to look really clean. So if you're doing it for a buyer, then you'd want to do this property report. And I can click run report and it'll start generating. It takes a couple minutes and it'll pop right up here on your screen that it's available. If I'm doing and you can customize this by taking out all of these different factors and pages that go into it, but you'll see how clean it looks. I leave most of it in there because it does give information about the neighborhood and the average median incomes and some of the things on the schools that are all great to have in your report for your clients. And that's why it makes it look like you just spent a lot of time on this when in 10, 15 minutes, you've got a full 45-page report ready for your client. If you're doing it for a seller, you click on the seller's report, and I would do this one this way. And I use pretty much just about all the same information as well. The same thing, you click run report, pops up like this, downloads the report, and now here's what we have to present to our client. And now again, it depends on your market, what you know about it, the pricing strategy, where it's priced at. But this is where my comp analysis at 488 is what I came up with value-wise for this property. And that's based off what I know, because I did a lot of heavy adjustments. You see, I did 37,000 in adjustments. If you scroll on through here, it'll go into detail on lots of things about the area and with all the comps. But this is a nice, clean report that's going to come back to your client. The adjustments and where I adjusted are all going to be on here, but I know that he spent probably closer to 50,000 on this remodel and flooring and all new appliances and a lot of the things that he's done to this house in the 2 years that he's owned it when he bought it last. So I know how much has gone into this. So this seems about right to me. And I'm using a little bit of my gut as well to kind of keep all the way through on that as far as what I know about the area. But this puts it on paper. This really makes it clear and easy for a client to see exactly where you got your numbers from, so that you're not just saying, yeah, it looks good at list. I would say go 20K over. You have justification of why you're going over and what's the history of that value and that property and some of the things that will back you up. So overall, this is RPR, and you can do this for any property, and it'll generate those reports. It'll keep them all right here in your profile for you. But I will typically go right over and send this to a client with an idea of a range. You know, it has an exact number on there, but I'm not really into trying to give exact numbers. I'm never that confident that it's like an appraisal, and that's that other seller's report being completed now. Makes a little doorbell sound. But there's something that I'll send over that'll kind of break things down when I go into that value. And so I put a range in here, 619 to 625, you know, and then what do I recommend actually offering on a property? You know, so this was one that, you know, because it was in that range, I said, hey, you should offer at least 625 or higher, waiving all these contingencies and doing all these things. And then I'll attach that RPR report to that email. And that's how I'll finish every conversation with my client in order to get them moving towards let's make an offer. So this is all on RPR. Does anybody have any questions on RPR or anything about building out these CMAs? And in general, just you know, it gets better with experience. The more you do, the more you look at, and really, the more you look at the appraisals that come back on your properties and really start seeing how an appraiser makes adjustments for different factors, square footage and lot size and bedrooms, and bathrooms and upgrades and decks and things like that. It's all things like that that you're going to need to be more aware of as time goes on. You're going to have more complicated properties that you have to figure out how to value. And I got most of my experience from battling against appraisers, you know, fighting the value with an appraiser and figuring out how do they think. I've taken some appraisal courses and some things like that as well, but it is their opinion at the end of the day is what you have to remember. And it's not an exact science. You're going to have appraisals come in low and you're going to have to be convincing on why they need to be higher. That's a lot of what you'll start to figure out once you start battling a few of those and coming across them. But make an RPR report for every property that you view for a while and just start getting in the idea of how much is this going to sell for? And then 30 days later, see how much it sold for, see if you were close. You can go back and kind of track your work and find out if your value opinion of the value was correct.
Yeah, and
that's it for me on CMAs.
Yeah, and you know, Dan, the other thing is you know, I've found, I don't know if I'm sure you've ran into VA loans where the appraisers just kind of throw their hands up and they're like Tidewater, right? And what they're wanting from you is they're wanting you to justify what the price was, right? Either if you're on the buyer or the listing side. So if you're really good at what Dan just showed, and really just takes practice, just go take a house, you know, review it, and then look at, and what I would do is go take a closed house. Okay. Don't look at what it closed for. Okay. And go and test yourself on a property, because if you send a report like that over to an appraiser, he's going to respect you, and you have a better chance of getting the value that he doesn't think is there if you're showing him the comps. And plus, if you did your job up front, which was doing something detailed and did look at the comps versus just saying, hey, yeah, we need to offer this and blah, 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 then, you know, you're probably not going to have that many issues with appraisals. Okay. So good stuff, Dan. Dan, if you could just tell them a contact number for you, man, in case somebody wants to reach out and ask you any questions on RPR, that'd be awesome. And then also let them know where you can subscribe to the channel to get more. We're dropping content every single week to give back to agents. It doesn't matter what brokerage you're at. Like I said in the back here, we grow together, no agent left behind. That's our mindset here. That's right. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that you can go into detail in training in real estate. You never can stop learning. Best thing about it. So
go and check. If you have any questions on CMAs or building value through RPR, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. My email is Dan, D-A-N, at 10xagentteam.com, or you can give me a call. My phone number is 830-515-7380. I'm more than happy to help you and walk you through any scenario in order to help get that value, especially on those unique properties. You know, what we just went over in the neighborhood or dense area with a lot of similar homes, those are the easy ones. It's when you find the properties with land or custom building and things like that, that you're going to have to start stretching some of those criteria that I gave you and going outside of the box a little bit. But you can always get more value and content on our YouTube channel, No Agent Left Behind, Real Value. Be sure to like and subscribe. So that way you can stay updated on all the newest content and training materials coming your way.
Awesome. And you guys have a wonderful, happy new year as well. Thanks so much.